All right. Hello, hello. Um, we've had some interesting things this week, yeah? I mean, we just finished the finale, and it seems like we have a long wait in front of us for season four. But I'm actually going to do YouTube comments, but I did want to address this that is on the screen because everybody's talking about it. It does look like he's getting his head shaved or his hair cut in some way. And people are asking me about my thoughts about it. My first thought, I mean, it's a little bit surprising. I didn't see that coming. And I don't know if this is going to be the haircut where they just shave it on the sides or if he's going to end up completely buzzed. I have no idea. That'll be pretty shocking if he does. He's had his hair long for a long time. But anyway, my first thought was that maybe sometime in season four, he is taken prisoner by some group and they force him to shave his head. That was the first thing that popped into my head. Um, I don't know. That could be, but it's really just a guess. I'm just going to read you guys some of the conversation between me and my fellow theorists and kind of what we were talking about because everybody was, I've been getting a lot of people asking what my thoughts are on this, so hold on. So Gladriel Jones says that's not just a haircut, those are shears and that is shaved. Also taking just a minute to admire those cheekbones, definitely. I looked at the comments on his post, and this was one of them that just was pretty close to the top when I looked at it. And I actually think this is really insightful. I really like this. Also, though, he's talked about how this last season is growth for Daryl and looking inward. I feel Daryl's hair has always been a shield for him. Cutting it, going back to the style it was at the beginning, would be symbolic of full growth. He no longer needs that security blanket. He's done the work. He's no longer running, literally or otherwise, and he's truly accepting himself as is, no more shame. I think that's really insightful. And so it could be something like that. I could totally see that being the case. So then I said also, I'm wondering if he could be taken captive. And Gladriel Jones says that, uh, she thought of that too. And definitely, if his head is shaved, that's not going to be hard to miss in the media. In fact, I can see big media outlets picking that up because he's going to look so different. So the next thing that popped into my head is that back after it was at the end of season four, Norman told this funny little story about him and Emily watching the end of season four together and her saying something to him like, well, what do you think is going to happen? And, it's so nuts that Beth got kidnapped and everything, as though she didn't know it was going to happen. And I'm not sure if that's true. It could definitely be them telling a story when she did know what was going to happen. But I can almost see it being the case because it was the beginning of season five that we get that photo of her smiling really big with Gimple and Angela Kang and Gimple kind of doing the kind of thing. So I could see that maybe back in season four, because she was not one of the top billed cast, she wasn't in the opening credits then, that she might have known less about her character. They might have only told her what was going to happen during season four. And then I believe firmly that at the beginning of season five, they told her what her entire arc was going to be, the death fake out, all of that. So I think she knew that for sure at the beginning of season five, but she really may have been a little bit more in the dark during season four. But either way, whether that's a total lie and she knew or not, there's the story he told where he told her that, like teasing her, that they were going to make her shave her head and that when she came back in season five she was going to be bald as a cue ball. And she was like shocked and like worried about that, but it was just him teasing her. And so he kind of told that story as just kind of a funny little story about him and Emily. um, and that's the next thing that popped into my head. Granted, this is not Emily, it's Daryl. So not Beth, but Daryl. But could he back then have already known something and be hinting at it? Like maybe did they already know what kind of organization Beth would end up in, and there was going to be some head shaving? I don't know. Um, but that was the next thing I thought of. And so we talked about that. Gladriel said she didn't realize it was a thing that Norman actually talked about. And I said, yeah, he did. We wondered about it. I remember talking about this a lot, that story during the Whisperer arc, because Alpha was bald. And so we kind of wondered if there was a tie in there. Um, but of course, nothing really came of it in the Whisperer arc. So anyway, I also wrote, I personally believe that every story they tell, even if it's embellished or has misdirection in it, also has hints and nuggets of truth. And then Gladriel Jones had another great comment down here. When Daryl was held prisoner at the sanctuary, that's the height of his entanglement with Sherry and Dwight. Chess pieces, Daryl eating peanut butter, Sherry helping him escape, mop bucket, the A. The next time he's taken prisoner, it's by the Reapers. He's waterboarded, imprisoned, and locked in a burning building. He then joins their ranks under cover for Leah. He proves he's on their side by torturing Frost. Incarcerated Daryl is definitely a template that's full of Beth symbols. So, anyway, just us thinking about it and wondering about it. I really don't know any more than you guys do, and I think people have some fantastic theories. And she's right. I don't think I read it, but further up, she said this is going to make it so much harder to wait during the hiatus because they're dropping these little hints that are so tantalizing. I mean, no doubt he put this on his social media knowing that people were going to flip out about it. And he was right. People are flipping out about it. So I just wanted to address that. I don't really have much else to say. I just think those are some possibilities, and I'm excited to see what happens next. So yeah, that's about all I have to say on that. But I would love to hear everybody else's thoughts. Okay, let's read some of your YouTube comments. Well, that other ship will believe whatever they want to believe. Recently, just seen them say that Antonio purposefully looks like Daryl. Like how? In what way? Yeah, Antonio looks nothing like Daryl. But apparently, when Antonio and Carol kissed, they thought for a moment that it was Daryl. Give that fandom real classes, please. If I knew how, you know. So these are some replies. For real, none of Carol's men look anything like Norman Reedus. Yep. Yeah, on Facebook, a fan account posted a screenshot of the Carol Antonio kiss, and they all acted like, "Oh, I thought he was Daryl." And in the comments, I've seen them saying that the similarity is all purposeful and that they are just being teased before Carol Daryl happens, or that Antonio seems younger than Daryl. And so here, obviously, we can debunk this about a million ways, but one thing that really jumps out at me there is that they're casually saying, "Oh, I thought that was Daryl." If they really thought that Daryl and Carol were making out on screen, they would be flipping out. They would be screaming. So there's no way they actually casually thought that. That is a well thought out, premeditated response right there, trying to make themselves correct. Um, and the fact that Antonio already has an adult son makes me realize that even this sets Daryl apart from Antonio and Carol in age. Carol is involved with the parent circle and their relationship problems, while Daryl is running around helping the younger ones, children's love life, Paz, Elena, and Justina Roberto. I'm not saying that Daryl is young enough to be Carol or Roberto's son. I think you mean Antonio. Don't feel bad. We all screw up the names and switch them out like that. But to me, it just feels like it sets them apart that way. But I'm unknown to Lulu. No, that's a really good point. Like I hadn't thought of it that way, but that's a really good point. And as far as I'm concerned, Delulu is the Salulu, so it's all good. But yeah, really good point. Here's a response. Interesting point. Carol, as a parent, is better set up to relate to Antonio, who is also a parent. I assume Sophia would be a comparable age to Roberto if she hadn't died in the beginning. I hadn't thought of that. That's interesting. Um, yeah, and I can see them doing that on purpose too. Daryl may be Judith and RJ's number one cool crossbow carrying uncle, but helping out with kids part time, even in the apocalypse, is for real not the same as being a parent. Tie that in with how Carol has better dealt with her trauma and dead lately and is moving forward, and Daryl has not. Definitely makes sense to find another way to illustrate how they're different in different emotional life journeys at this time. Yeah, for sure. You guys are getting there with all the deep psychological thinking. I love it. About Norman's interview, the timing wasn't after episode 6. The interview took place during the global premiere in Madrid on September 4th, where Norman, Melissa, and the Spanish cast did many interviews with various press outlets in the same room. It just seems that Hey You Guys has published it now. I just checked, and I guess we'll see more of those interviews coming out in the next few days. Well, even so, I wonder why they waited to publish it till now. I'm not 100% sold on this particular outlet being one that is always informed by the powers that be, like the comicbook.com. This one feels like it's a little bit more independent. I have no idea one way or the other if that's true, but I'm not even saying that maybe this is one that the powers that be specifically direct them on what to post. But even so, it seems strange that they would have waited so long to post this, unless maybe somebody asked them to wait. So I don't know, but thanks for letting us know. I think Paz's story is going to be a parallel to Daryl's story. Something related to Beth is going to appear out of the blue, and it's going to motivate Daryl to look for her again. And this time, nothing is going to stop him, like nothing is stopping Paz now. This would be so beautiful and fulfilling. Fingers crossed. Yep, I'm with you. Same. I visited the town they filmed the flagship show in, not during filming, and also gone to Nicotero and ours restaurant. So shout out to Nick and Norman's, LOL. And there is a lot of woods around there. Totally made sense that they could have filmed all kinds of things back then that none of us ever saw. Also, tons of little white churches, right? I know. Um, as for TWD, Daryl Dixon, I'm sure it's even easier to film stuff out of sight from prying eyes in another freaking continent. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so yeah, I don't think people entirely get that. It's hard to visualize for some people. And it's even a little bit, it's not hard for me to visualize, but I do not live in a place that has a lot of woods that are really dense like that, but I have traveled to those places and they stick out to me because specifically I was not raised in a place like that. I was raised in a desert, right? So we have trees, of course, but not like these dense woods that are so thick that come right up to the road. Like that is not the way the landscape is where I live. So when I have gone to places like that, it's always shocking to me. But I have been there. So I know that in places like that, like you cannot see very far because the forest growth is so thick. And the AMC lot is huge. I mean, it's acres, right? So yeah, for sure. And don't forget that there was at least one time um, that Emily took a picture from inside one of the Walking Dead trailers, like one of the set trailers. I think it was during season 6. It was after she had already left the set. She posted the picture. Everyone immediately knew that's what it was and thought she was on set. And I think she had to have been on set. And then she took it down really quickly. And obviously nothing came from it. We were all freaking out and thinking, oh, she's going to be in the next season. Obviously, she wasn't. But I mean, it's like on the one hand, she could have been visiting the set because it hadn't been that long and she might have just gone back to see some people. Um, that is totally possible. But if that was the case, why not just say, I'm visiting the set to see my old friends? You know, why hurry and take it down as though you were freaked out that everybody was talking about it? And equally, it's possible that she was actually filming then and that they were filming things that they have not shown us yet. So 100% with you. Um, as for the little white churches, I always talk about how Norman and there were pictures back then. It was right around season 5. I don't remember exactly when, but it was Norman and Stephen Yun were driving around and they would be pointing to the white churches. And I 1000% believe that they were hinting at things, but I don't think that any of the white churches that they posted on social media was the actual church they filmed at. I think they were just on their bikes driving around to these little churches and pointing at them as a hint, and they weren't really telling us what they were doing. And that I remember feeling at the time like that was significant, but I had absolutely no idea why or what to say about it, right? And it didn't really click until the trading card came out that talked about trying to bury Beth at a white church. And then it was like, that's what they were doing, and then it just really clicked in a big way for me. So yeah, 100%. Thank you for that comment. I'm with you. Yes, agree. There was studio filming on the flagship show. When they have something they want to hide, they will hide it. Yes. Great comments, you guys. Okay, let's see. I did those. Addressing the first comment, we honestly have no idea where Emily Kinney has been since mid-July. She's been nearly completely absent from social media, which is very unlike her. The only appearances she has made just happened to coincide with known filming breaks for season 4. Oh, I did not know that. This has happened multiple times now. For example, she's doing an opening act for a concert on December 7th. Norman just announced that he's going to be at Tokyo Comic Con that same weekend, so obviously no filming going on during that period. She made an appearance at a comedy show in August, also, when there was a break in filming. She posted herself at a concert when SDCC Malaga was going on. Everything in between has been crickets. Wow, I did not know that. So thank you for sending that in. I so do not follow their social media enough to pick up on things like that. I mostly just see um, things people send me, and then if somebody says go look, then I go look. So that's really compelling right there. People keep getting upset that we haven't seen her filming, but as I always say, we're not going to see her filming. If they are not revealing her until season 4, we will not see her filming for season 4. Okay, they're not going to do that. So if she had been revealed at the end of season 3, then I can see us, seeing her in front of spoiler cameras sometimes. But the fact that they didn't reveal her, we are not going to see her filming, even if she is. Very specifically, if she is, we will not see her filming. So thank you for that. That's awesome. Um, how do you explain Beth still being dead in Dead City? It's like 5 years ahead of this timeline. You could say Maggie wouldn't look for her, just like she didn't after the prison, but Beth would try to find her. Well, the thing is, we don't really know what the timeline is. So everyone assumed it was 5 years ahead, and I think they wanted us to believe that at first. And I think the main reason people assumed that was due to Herschel's age. But keep in mind, we haven't actually been given an age for him. So yeah, he looks like he's 16 and it's several years in the future, but it's very common for actors to play younger parts than they actually are. And if they are going to go with Daryl was only in his late 20s at the beginning of the series, then they can certainly have this actor who was probably 18 or 19 playing a 13-year-old. I mean, we don't know for sure. And Gimple has come out and said, we have not given you the timeline. Do not assume you know what it is. Okay, so I personally believe because Dead City showed filming locations in France that Dead City is going on somewhat at the same time as Daryl Dixon. And I think that the two shows are going to cross. So I don't think that it's way far out, like 5 years out from what Daryl Dixon is the timeline is. I think that they're pretty much synonymous in some way. So we can't really uh, say one way or the other, whether she's, I mean, if they're happening at the same time, then Maggie just doesn't know she's alive yet. Why would she? But at some point they'll give us a timeline. So we're just kind of waiting to see still what the timeline is going to be. Gimple has been stating in interviews this year that the timeline is broken and Dead City being ahead isn't necessarily accurate. Even if it was ahead, though, it's not like any of these communities are super connected, where news is going to travel quickly. They don't appear to know that Rick is back either, for example. So I think the timeline is just messed up and shouldn't be taken seriously. Agreed. Okay. Yeah. Great answer. I don't know what this is in response to. Well, yeah, there are TDers who aren't Bethelers. I, for example, wouldn't mind Bethyl not being a thing, but getting Beth back. Okay. Now that I could watch the whole video, to me it was great. Even if we didn't see Beth, we could surely feel her. The still episode yet again, where they burn it all down, where Daryl remembers about his past with Merle and where he said a bunch of things that never happened that actually happened later. So ain't going to happen to me will sure happen later. Yeah. Now he just needs to find the person whom he will settle with back in the US. Agreed. Yeah, so that's a really good point. In Still, they used the Never Have I Ever game, and everything that he said came true after that. So he said, I never been out of Georgia. Not too long after Coda, they left Georgia, right? And people have pointed out all these Never Have I Evers that have come true. So I hadn't even quite thought of it like that. The fact that he said it's not going to happen for me, it's probably just around the corner for him. You're right. So thank you. The entire episode was literally a reflection of Still. We have the theme of social classes, then Justina hugging Daryl from behind, resting her head on his back, just like Beth did. Then they have a conversation about how the apocalypse changes people, where Justina tells Daryl it turned him into a good person, mirroring when Beth told him he changed for the better. You got to stay who you are, not who you were. And just like in Still, the episode ends with Daryl watching a fire, this time the boat instead of the cabin burning in front of him. I love that. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your next deep dives. It's going to make waiting for the final season more bearable again. Thank you. I will do my best to make it more bearable. By the way, I'm going to try really hard to get my Operation Lead the Walkers Away posts out next week. I've been promising those since before the season began, but it just was not feasible to do while the season was on. There was too much else going on. So thank you. I will do my best. One more thing, on Facebook, a TWD site posted 2 pictures of the season finale when Daryl has a flashback. There's a box behind him with a toy car on it. I tried to find the type, but since I'm not that good with cars, it needs to have 4 wheels and roll to my knowledge. That's about my knowledge of cars too, yeah. I asked my dad and also my boyfriend. They both told me separately that it must be a Lotus type of racer car due to the silhouette. My boyfriend said it must be a Lotus Elise. What's interesting is Lotus Elise was released in 1996. They both agreed that the design on the picture is most likely a conceptual art and that it shouldn't be an earlier design than the 90s. So in short, if he's around 10 in these flashbacks, then he must be born in the 80s, since I don't think he ever got anything new. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that would mean um, that he couldn't be more than like 30. That's what I thought. I really think that they're going for Daryl being in his late 20s in the first season. They have not said that, but I think that's what they're going for. And understand, I mean, that would still make him 10 years older than Beth, depending on whether he was 26, 28, 29, whatever it is. So it's not that like there isn't an age gap. There's a little bit of one, but they're trying to close it a little bit. Um, like I always say, it's so ridiculous that people compare Beth's age in the show to Norman's age in real life. That's like comparing apples and oranges, but they do seem to be trying to make him a little bit younger than he was. So, yeah, thank you. Also, a blue lotus, another blue flower in the background since hydrangea that needs water. Lotus more so since it's an aquatic plant. I like that. So, blue lotus, hydrangea, and I know it's a not a plant, but there's also the blue heron. We've got a lot of blues going on there. Whether Daryl has a romance or not, I just hope he gets to go home. Would give anything to see him approaching Alexandria and being greeted by Rick. You know what? I think that's going to happen because um, I've said this before, but back in 708, yeah, Carl didn't die till season 8, right? Yeah, so it was, it's where they kill Spencer, right? Which nobody was that sad about. But when he goes, so after everything that happens with Spencer, and Rick goes to Hilltop, and him and Maggie hug, and that's when Daryl is there because Jesus went and got him, and Sherry helped him escape, and that's where Daryl and Rick hug, right? And Daryl hands Rick back his gun. I really think that that is a huge foreshadow of them coming back together. Like them being separated there was a foreshadow of them being separated when Rick went into the CRM, and then, he comes back and Daryl's not there. And so they've been separated for a while. And so I really do think that that's going to happen and that that scene was a foreshadow of a bigger reunion down the road. So I'm with you, and I can't wait for that to happen either. Okay. All right, guys, I think we hit all the comments. So thank you for sending them in. They were very insightful. And I'm going to call it there for tonight. And then in the next video, I will get caught up on asks. Bye.